Hey guys, it's time for Lawn Theory. So crack open a cold one and settle in and let's get to it. On Lawn Theory, we're going to keep up with industry trends and hear from professionals who built businesses from the ground up. New episodes drop every Sunday, and you'll have new growth opportunities for your business every Monday. Now, let's get into today's episode.
Welcome to episode 2 of Lawn Theory. I'm Sherry, head of marketing at Lawn Buddy, and I'm joined here with our CEO, Stephen Werner. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the economy, how it's impacting lawn and landscape companies, and how you can weather the storm. So thanks for joining us today, Stephen.
Thank you again for having me.
As we're all aware, inflation is super high right now. The stock market has dropped. The cost of goods has skyrocketed. Gas is insane. Everyone's talking about that. And all of these things can feel really scary, especially as there's a lot of uncertainty about what's going on, where the economy is headed, what's going to happen next. So how are all of these things impacting lawn and landscape companies right now?
Yeah, well, it's a fantastic question. So the economy right now is at an interesting point, and interesting is probably an understatement. It's at all times high when it comes to inflation. Fluctuation in the stock market has a lot of uncertainty that is your consumer or buyer habits, and that all bleeds into lawn and landscape industry and business owners specifically. We've all seen the constraints that the pandemic put on the supply chain when it came to actual equipment, right? And so our listeners, they know that if you were to order a new walker mower, it's going to take a while because they just can't get the parts that they used to be able to get. If you were looking for a trimmer or edger, it's the same thing. And also the prices at your brick and mortar stores have gone through the roof. And so there's a lot of challenges that our business owners face when it comes to staying profitable, right? Because margins for lawn maintenance are so thin that you have to find new and creative ways to increase that profit margin and find alternatives to inflation, things of that nature. I know we have a lot of clients who switched to all electric equipment to help kind of beat prices at the pump, but now your utilities are rising too, so you have to get that electricity from somewhere. And so you're still seeing rising costs there. And so there's a lot of different things that you could do to offset inflation, uncertainty in the market to make your business kind of recession-proof or help better weather a potential storm when it came to the economy in general.
Right. Okay. Enlighten us. What are those things?
So a couple of things right off the bat that I would say, there's simple things that you can do as a business owner to increase your profitability. Mm-hmm. One is looking at your customers as a whole, right? As well as your route density. People always kind of snicker when I say this, but sometimes it's really good to fire customers, right?
Okay.
If you have a client that is, let's say 30 minutes away off the beaten path, and they're a relative pain to deal with when you get out there. They're always talking to your crew. They're always calling in with complaints, things of that nature. They're costing you money, especially when your profit margins are shrinking because your gas costs are more expensive. It's hard to find laborers. All of those things factor into, you need to start reining in like who is your ideal customer and who can help get you to that next level. And a lot of times the best thing you can do for your business is buyer clients. Trim the fat, so to speak, mm-hmm. and really focus on a dense route that is full of clients that are fruitful for your business.
When you say a dense route, can you explain exactly what that means?
Yeah, so if your shop is located in a certain zip code, right, and you start adding clients that are outside of that zip code or further away, like that 30-minute client I was talking about, having a kind of a really tight-knit route or having a deep route density essentially means like you're focusing on that specific zip code or that specific area to build a client base, because then if all your clients are in that zip code, right, you can start building a very efficient route when it comes to time for your employees for drive time as well as fuel costs, because you're not driving 30 minutes to go to another home, and you can just become more efficient. So you know, hey, it's only going to take me 5 minutes to get this next house. Right. If we add another client, we can keep our prices a little bit lower than a competitor because we're right next door. We'll also get more net profit from it because we're not having to increase our drive time, which costs money for labor, costs money for gas, all the above. So that's what I mean by a dense route.
So let's say someone picks the zip code they want to be in and they maybe have a handful of customers in that area. How do they get more customers in that area? Is it a matter of just knocking on doors, or is there another strategy that they should take?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I always say, and we talked a little bit about this in a podcast, you had really good insight into some basic things you can do to increase the likelihood that you convert a customer by just having a website presence, having a Facebook presence. Before that, what I would also say is that like you need to have good signage on your vehicle and on your trailer, if you have a trailer. But once you start putting that signage on your vehicles and you're in the neighborhoods and you look nice, clean, and professional, have a polo that has your customers or your company's name on it, or a shirt that has your company's name on it, have all your workers be uniform, you start looking more professional. So that way, just like that house has curb appeal for people driving through, your business has curb appeal, and people will often stop you and say, hey, would you be able to do my property? Right? And so it's always that organic marketing, right?
Yeah.
Is just having awareness, like having business owners and homeowners know you're in their neighborhood. And then you can take it a step further once you have that website presence, is then you could start doing physical marketing materials like door hangers, although I could argue that those are starting to be phased out.
Right.
You could also do social media strategies as far as doing targeted Facebook messages in that area. And then also just going a step further and finding the groups that are there. So is there like a homeowners association Facebook page that you can start offering your services to? Is there like the Next Door app that you can target a specific area and say, hey, I'm in your neighborhood for your HOA, we're offering this specific pricing. And so those are some strategies that you can do. And it turns into a spider web effect, because then you'll find different traits about that customer demographic. To maybe they all go to a baseball game on the weekends because all their kids play baseball together. Well, probably makes sense for you to sponsor that tournament or that baseball team. So
right. So we have trimming the fat, getting rid of customers that don't make sense to have, and we have increasing your route density. So what are some additional ways that people can kind of navigate the current economy?
Yeah, so if we really analyze the problems that are facing our business owners or entrepreneurs in the lawn landscape industry, right? Technology isn't the first thing that pops up that is a cure-all, right? Your first problem is going to be labor and your labor shortage. The second problem is going to be equipment scarcity, as well as the inflated price of equipment and the fuel that goes into that equipment. And then you can start getting into how technology can solve that. And so a big thing that we have done as a company is, instead of focusing on just building random pieces of technology, it's really focusing on what do our business owners need and how can we provide tremendous value to them, both inside technology and outside of technology. And so for labor, nobody has cracked that nut. Nobody has a magic bullet to get people to work during the summer or get people that want to go out and do manual labor. However, we've made specific tools to where you can optimize your current workforce. So those good folks that you have that stay with you for a long time, we're able to optimize their day through technology to where they don't have to worry about where they're going next. They don't have to worry about, I have to call the front office or I have to call you to tell you that we've run into a problem. We give them those tools to be able to problem solve by themselves or connect digitally to the customer or to your office staff or you, so that you can have the information at their fingertips so that they can do more with less, right? That's the old Marine Corps adage, right? Is do more with less. The other thing would be around equipment. Something that we've started doing is we've launched a new feature in the web portal that we call the Lawn Shop. And so we knew that equipment scarcity and inflated prices of said equipment was significantly impacting business owners. And so we started reaching out direct to manufacturers to see if they would be willing to drop ship to our clients at cost. So Lawn Buddy doesn't mark it up. It's cost from manufacturers to be drop shipped to your door, essentially cutting out brick and mortar. Now, I know everyone really loves or hates their dealers that they work with. However, doing this is going to be super beneficial for your business because you're going to be able to put more money in marketing. If you're able to save $1,000 on a piece of equipment, that opens up a $500 sponsorship for that baseball team I was talking about. But there are items in the Lawn Shop now. There'll be more added in the future. One of the ones that we're really excited about is we partnered with Robin and Husqvarna to where you can get access to their gas and electric powered equipment. One specifically that we've been focusing on is robots. And I know there's a stigma in the industry when it comes to robotic lawn care. However, what we've been able to find is that If you can finance a unit to sit on a customer's property for $38 a month, your profit margins for that property significantly go up, because you can still charge, I'm just throwing out numbers, you can charge $40 a week because the unit cuts daily, have it automatically billed through Lawn Buddy to where you're making a drastic improvement to your profit margin, and the only thing you have to do is send someone out to trim an edge when they don't even need a trailer anymore. You could literally just send them out in a vehicle, trim an edge, and then have that person be the salesman for the stuff that you actually make larger margins on. So fertilizer applications, landscaping, irrigation, things of that nature, to where you can be on the ground and sell to the homeowner, so on and so forth. So those are some ways that we're kind of optimizing those two areas where it comes to residential and employees. When it comes to commercial contracts, right, when we're talking about recession proofing or building a business that can weather a storm on a solid foundation, is knowing that, hey, if the economy continues to get worse, we know that consumer habits are going to change, right? Which means most likely we'll see a downturn in the frequency of lawn care requests from our repeat customers. Your weekly clients may be forced to go bi-weekly. However, one thing that we've always seen through these times is as the economy turns, there's always opportunity. And so if you started looking at all the new homeowners in the United States who bought homes that were severely inflated, unfortunately, a lot of those are going to go under and they're going to be foreclosed, which means if you're set up as a business to be a commercial account for a bank, you're still going to have excess work coming in. It may not be repeatable all the time, but you're still going to have extra work that you can do to offset that temporary offset to your residential income. So I would say start having more of a mindset on how you can increase your commercial side of the house. I know a lot of people either only do commercial, only do residential, or they do a nice combination. I would say start thinking about how you could do a nice combination going into next year. So I really don't think you're going to see severe effects to the economy when it comes to homeowners purchasing decisions for this year. Next year, I think if things continue to go south is when the industry is really going to start getting into a bind there. So as you go into next year, start thinking of how are some commercial accounts in your area, how can you start getting in the door for those, making those relationships to where once you bid on their RFP or request for proposal, you already have that relationship established and you can service them, which the software is set up to do as well, to be compliant for corporations or commercial accounts.
Yeah, so that I think ties into what you were saying in the last episode of really needing to set time aside to plan a year to 3 years out for your business. You know, grab that beer, sit down in the lazy boy, and take the time to plan. And that can be a part of that plan is how can I break into the commercial space. I also wanted to mention we do have a podcast coming out with Robin, so you'll hear a lot more about automating your business with robots in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that. But I also wanted to bring up one other thing, which is we all know gas prices are insane right now, and we don't know when they will go back down. But there are some people that are adding a fuel surcharge to their customers. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just got off the phone with a client who was doing that yesterday, and I think it's really brilliant, especially if you don't do an outrageous charge, right? A lot of people are saying, well, I need to increase my prices by 7 to 10% to keep up with inflation. A lot of times if you just do that blanket statement and you don't explain why when you're sending that to a homeowner, sometimes you'll get rejection, you'll get a lot of pushback. But if you break it out and you say, hey, well, I'm adding a 5% surcharge for fuel costs to offset for inflation, homeowners know that fuel is rising too because they feel it, right? That's right. The one common ground that they have with you is that they have to fill up their vehicle as well. They may not know about equipment scarcity or the price of your equipment, but they definitely know about the price of gas, and it can help smooth over that transition to increase your prices so that way you're maintaining a level of profitability to where you can continue to grow your business and not become stagnant or start going to the red a little bit. So.
Right. How would a business owner decide how much fuel surcharge to add?
You know, I think that's a great question that each business owner is going to have to think for themselves. Obviously, gas prices are different in certain states,
right.
So take that into account, and then also start taking into account your route density. And so if you don't have a dense route, maybe you need to increase it a little bit more until you can get a more dense route just to cover costs.
That makes sense. Do you have any closing remarks, any advice for business owners who are really feeling the effects of the economy right now?
Yeah, I'd say you just have to weather the storm. There's a lot of folks that it's going to get pretty overwhelming for, but you have to remember that you can weather the storm. You can complete this task. You just have to stay laser focused and don't let yourself give into excuses, right? The kind of what we were saying in the last podcast and a little bit in this is you have to make time to plan and work on your business and not just in your business. And I think if you're going to be successful in this year and next year, you need to do that more than ever. And you need to have specific, measurable, attainable goals for you to set for yourself and your business and your employees, so that way you make sure everyone's on the same page. Because leaving it to chance, I'm going to say this a little bit louder, leaving it to chance for your business this year is a poor strategy. If you have an idea in your head that's not on paper, that you haven't had a way that you can measure your progress or your goals, you're going to fail, because it's just that, it's an idea. It's the same way when we think about implementation with any software or new anything. If you don't take the time to set it up and build it into a habit, statistically you're going to fail. And so really going into this, make the time to sit down, crack a cold one, and start focusing on, okay, what are some of those goals that I can set? What are some of those additional services that I can offer? That's another thing I didn't really hit on is, as the economy continues to worsen, how can you offer different services to offset your lost income? So a lot of people are doing power washing. If you're on TikTok, everyone's doing power washing.
It's very satisfying to watch.
It is very satisfying to watch. But adding those services, I mean, we have a client, a really good friend, Thomas Brown with Brown Proscapes down in Dothan, Alabama, and he started painting grass, right? And he went viral on TikTok, but that also made it to where he could get more customers in his area, more commercial accounts, because customers are going to start shutting off their water if water prices continue to increase, and they don't want their lawn to look like crap. So there's an alternative service that you can offer. It may seem silly, but I'm sure you would much rather make that money than someone else make that money.
Exactly.
So just start thinking through those different strategies.
Yeah, it's incredibly important for business owners to adapt to any situation, because the economy is going to go up and down for forever. Like, it's always going to be moving in a direction, and we have to always be willing to adapt to the situation. So I know that was a lot of information for anyone who wasn't taking notes, which is probably most people if you're listening while you're on your mower. We did create an infographic going over all of this content that we will link below that you can download. And then that way you can review it. We have some links in there for you to access the Lawn Shop and access Lawn Buddy. So feel free to take a look there. Stephen, before I close out, I know you're going to ask me some ridiculous questions, so go ahead.
I'm glad that you've been preparing for this. So, just like at the end of the last podcast, we learned that you wanted to fight off 100 duck-sized horses.
Yes.
And now this one is, would you rather have thumbs that were the size of your legs or legs that were the size of your thumbs?
Thumbs the size of my legs or legs the size of my thumbs. I'm going to go with thumbs the size of my legs for two reasons. One is that's going to be the easiest to surgically correct. And two, I won't have to go any length of time without being able to walk.
I would definitely not cut those suckers off. I mean, you could gallop like a horse on your thumbs and your legs. It would be fantastic.
But how would I use my phone?
You could do it from such a long distance away that it's like social distancing with technology. So.
How would I type on a computer?
You can figure it out. it takes hunting and pecking to a new extent.
Okay, so what would you choose?
Oh, I would 100% choose thumbs the size of my legs.
But you wouldn't get them removed.
Oh no, I'd keep those suckers.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us this week. Stay tuned for our next episode with COO Michelle Miller. She'll be going over business operations and how to optimize your business from that standpoint. And be sure to comment down below whether you would have thumb size legs
or leg size thumbs.
Or leg size thumbs.
Or if you don't want to do that, go ahead and just like it with your normal size thumb.
Yes.